everybody. Thank you. Okay, thank you. We did have a pharmaceutical company support this event tonight, and I hope that everybody appreciates Celgene, okay, for, you know, providing us the funding to do this. So I hope that you could all thank them as well. Thank you. All right, next we have Jeffrey Segal. And Jeffrey Segal, aside from being a friend of mine and somebody I've gotten to know for many years already, Jeffrey Segal's the recipient of the 2007 National Strength and Conditioning Association Personal Trainer of the Year Award. Yay, Jeff! Jeff has written articles for numerous MS publications in addition to others such as Shape Magazine. He's the owner of Balance Personal Training, and he's a national motivational and educational speaker. He's a graduate of Florida State University, and he also has been living with MS since 1998. Let's welcome Jeff Segal.
Hello. Hi. How's everybody doing? Great. All right. Holding this microphone in my hand brings back some memories from the very first time I held a microphone in my hand, which was a really bizarre story, but it made it a lot easier to speak in front of a large crowd the rest of my life. Imagine this, imagine being called up onto a stage in front of an entire high school. And your coach, I was a captain of the football team, and my coach said, "Here, I want you to announce the whole team. The freshman team, you know, the JV team, and the varsity team." And he walked off the stage because he forgot the roster. So I was the guy. It was the most awkward scenario I could be in. And in a split second, the thoughts that went through my head were, am I going to run off the stage? Or am I going to figure this out somehow? And those were my two options, fight or flight. You know, I had that option and I'm not one to quit. I never quit. I don't quit. There's no room in life for quitting. In my life, you know, that's not the way I am. So what I did was, somehow, some way, I figured out how to make it through that scenario. I mean, I was holding the mic. I was yelling for people to yell back at me while I was trying to figure stuff out, which I do when I speak now. That was a great tactic that I learned back then, because if I forget something at some point, I'll change the subject and you wouldn't even know it. Or I might get help from you without you knowing that I forgot what I was going to say. I've never told a group that before, but I do that. And it's worked. And it's worked phenomenally. But what I did was, I didn't know everybody's name. So I winged it. And I didn't like call them by the wrong names, but I gave them nicknames. When they ran out of numbers, I gave them the numbers. I called number 45, whoever else was coming up. Then I called up the grasshopper and the rhino and this and that and the other. Everybody got their chance to come up. They were thrilled, and they kept their nicknames. So that was also the first time that I realized that you don't really need a microphone to talk. You can talk without a microphone. Right. Incredible, right? Yeah. You guys hear me okay in the back? Yeah. All right, so from the introduction, from what you heard, I got my degree at Florida State. I've been a personal trainer, and I studied years and years as you know, exercise physiology. That's what exercise is all about. It is a science. Don't think it's not. It is. Like the amount of reps that somebody does and the amount of force that the weight is per rep and all that stuff, there's a science, and you can predict how strong people are and how strong people aren't. So I'm going to skip from that time in my life, which, you know, how many people in here were athletes? Everybody raise their hand, because you guys all were children, right? And as a child, once an athlete, always an athlete. It's the truth. Your nerves hold that memory of movements that you've done your entire life. And I'll tell you something. How many people grew up getting peanut butter and jelly sandwiches made by their parents? If you're a parent and you have children, I'm sure you've done the same. You've given your children peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. When their friends come over, there's always that friend that your peanut butter and jelly sandwich is not as good as their parents' peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's different. Every peanut butter and jelly sandwich is a little bit different. And parents know what their kids like. They don't know what other kids like. And it could be just a little bit too much jelly, a little bit too much peanut butter, but it becomes an entire different sandwich to the person eating it. That's like MS. Every case of MS is a little bit different. So this is the first time I also compared MS to a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I've never heard anybody else do it. So don't steal it from me. So when I was diagnosed, I was 25 years old. I was, invincible. I got symptoms, all the stuff that happens to everyone when they get diagnosed. Luckily, it was a pretty quick process. But I didn't go to the doctor right away. I should have, but I didn't because I was invincible. And when I did finally go to the doctor, I had already had lost sensation in half of my body and lost sensation the other half of my face, and my vision was going from optic neuritis. I'm surprised that I didn't wait till I lost a limb before I went to the doctor. And it was quick because, all the signs pointed to something that had the signs of, symptoms of MS, and then with the MRIs, it was clear as day. And I was diagnosed. So now came the time that I was going to live my life with MS. And I thought, wow, I'm going to live my life even harder and stronger and do all the other stuff. And I did a little bit too much early on, but I had a lot of disease activity. And I'm going to skip forward a little bit, but I'm a true believer in talking to your neurologist and picking the medicine that works for you. It's a joint decision. I mean, there's a lot of meds out there. I didn't have a lot of meds when I was diagnosed to choose from. I had 3. One didn't work, another one did. I'm still on it. I'm lucky that happened to me. I talked to some people before the program began, and they asked me what med, and I'm a little bit hesitant to tell people what I take in a group. Personally, I'd be happy to talk to you about it, but just because I'm taking something that works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you, or that person, or this person, but it may work for that person. That's why you have a neurologist. I'm not a neurologist. When it comes to that and prescribing meds, I'm a patient. In what I do, I have to learn about what all the meds do and how they respond or react to exercise, because I don't want to kill anyone. It's the last thing I want to do. I want to make your life better and happier and you be able to do more. But back to being athletes, everybody in here ran around and played and did all that kind of stuff, and at some point we stopped. I figured it out a couple of weeks ago. I've been speaking about this kind of stuff for years, and I'm always wondering, when do people stop playing outside and stop running around? When does that stop in the lives of you guys? Because you guys didn't go out and play in the neighborhood today, did you? No. But I know you remembered having a good time doing it. That was exercise, by the way, because you guys didn't get tired, and there wasn't a person that was more tired than the rest of everybody else, because everybody got in shape together. And it wasn't because they wanted to get in shape, it was because they wanted to have a good time and play and be a participant. And that's what life is all about. But going from the time when I was diagnosed, a few years later, after having changed meds, I had several exacerbations early on. I mean, I'm the rare case that had a very, very, very active disease course early on. That usually says you're going to have a rough time later on. 20 years into it, during the time when I couldn't walk, I was told, which was a time I couldn't walk, I was told I'd never walk again. And the same doctor was told I'd never see him again by me, because I couldn't take that statement. So I would get up this was my daily, I was fatigued. Now, how many people in here have experienced fatigue? Okay? How many people in here that don't have MS experience fatigue? Okay? So if you don't exercise for what, 20 years, 30 years, and you start exercising and you think it's difficult, hey, you're out of shape, guys. That's what happens. So when I was, but I was in shape when I had my big exacerbation. I was in great shape. And every morning, I mean, you guys, I'm sure there's people in here that this has happened to. I'm an optimist. Everything is, I believe in myself. Half of that is why I am where I am today. But at this time in my life, for, it was close to a year, every morning, it was real. I mean, it was difficult. I was in a place that I didn't like, but I knew I was going to get out of it. I knew no matter what, I was going to do something a little bit different. And even if it was going to be doing things differently, I was still going to be a participant. Every morning for at least 6 months, this is what I would do. I'd wake up and I'd say, today's the day, and this is exactly what would happen. That would be every single day. And eventually I got back up. But that's what life is all about. If you have a problem and you hit the floor like that, for me it was day in and day out. I didn't care about hitting the ground. I planned properly and I put a big blanket there, and eventually things were okay. But I believed that I was going to get up, and then when I did get up, I kept getting up, and I practiced doing that. In between that stretch of time, what I did was I crawled because I was able to. I didn't walk because I couldn't. You know, I'd fall every time I tried to say, today's not the day. But if it was, I would have known. So I didn't want to miss out on that opportunity. I went to research all the stuff there was on MS and exercise. And I went through it like that because there wasn't much. There wasn't much because for years doctors were telling their patients, and they were erring on the side of caution, not to exercise because it caused symptoms, and they didn't understand it. Right now they understand MS 10 times more than they did when I was diagnosed, which was 50 more times than they had 5 years before because there really wasn't a medicine out yet. So this is the best time in history to have MS. And next week will be even better. And the next week and next week and next week, because more and more is coming out, and you can attest to that. It's, you know, doctors, it's like a waiting game if the FDA is going to approve stuff and how it's going to work for their patients. And it's great. We're all different. There's a lot of different choices. There's a lot of different options. But my take-home message, I'm going to keep coming back to this, is do what you can while you can. And there's always something that you can do. But if you don't do it, you know what happens? You can't do it. It doesn't work. So it's like, so the whole thing about that 20 years, if you have MS and you go that 20 years also without exercising, and now the doctor says, and I want everybody who doesn't have MS to really think about this. The doctor says you should be in shape and you should get yourself conditioned and it's important. The doctor in the next room is telling somebody else that too. And in the room over here, they're being told to get in shape and, you know, be more active because you don't want comorbidities with MS. You don't want to have diabetes. We talked about that. We'd heard him talk about diabetes and heart disease and stuff, and that's where the primary doctor would say, okay, this is for this doctor and this is for that doctor. But what I say is, let's just wipe it out and prevent it. We can prevent that stuff. MS, when we learn how to prevent it, you know, that day will come maybe, I don't know. But in the meantime, we can prevent all the other stuff that's not going to help your MS. And I guarantee you, if you had told your doctor, hey, is my MS going to be better with or without diabetes? You know, it's like hold the ketchup, hold the diabetes, hold the cardiovascular disease, and let's enjoy what we got, you know, and just this. You know, are we all understanding what I'm saying? Great. And sorry if I scared anybody by falling, but it scared the crap out of me every time I did it, you know. So I try not to fall. I don't remember the last time I fell. Besides, yeah, I have bad short-term memory, but my long-term is great. So I don't remember what just happened. How many people in here are forgetful? All right. How many people in here are forgetful? It happens, right? That we can say, ha, MS. I blame MS on it. It's same thing as math, same thing as science, same thing as it is with anything that you don't practice. If you don't practice, like, you know, do memory games and that type of stuff, it doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means that it might not be as quick. Math is the same way. If I gave you a math problem right now, I guarantee you half of you would jump through the answer at me. And I'm going to do it because it's pretty cool. I mean, it's simple math. I mean, we all know math, right? 1 + 1 is 2, 4 + 4 is 9. We got it, right? All right, there's a baseball bat and a baseball. Got to bring sports into this. So you got a baseball bat, you got a baseball. Together they cost $110. The bat costs $100 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? 10. Of course not. Because if you add 110 and 10, you get 120. I said they're together 110. But because you don't practice that kind of math and you didn't have a piece of paper in front of you, you didn't write it down, automatically you got the wrong answer, but you were so confident that you screamed it out. And you thought everybody else would be like, ah, this guy's smarter than all of us. And he's more confident and he's able to do it and he's not shy and he said it, but that's because you don't practice. You know, if you don't practice things, you don't get better at things. You know, and when things happen like not being able to walk for a while or not exercising for a while, it's like getting a pack of cards, shuffling it up, throwing it on the ground and saying, oh my gosh, I expected them to be in order. It doesn't work like that. Your brain will not respond without some stimulus. So if you don't feed it, it's not going to grow. And it's going to get weaker and weaker and weaker, and you're going to keep relying on other things and enable yourself to do that. With exercise, you respond differently. And there's been some research recently out of the University of Hamburg last year about what goes on in the brain with aerobic exercise. And it allows people to think more clearly and remember a little bit better and all kinds of other things that we knew happens with people that don't have MS or in the animal model, but they showed evidence of this at ECTRIMS in 2017, and it was a great study because prior to that, the biggest study was out of Utah in 1995. Those are the two big studies. I mean, there's been a few other ones, but there's not anything that's been like, an ongoing thing that everybody refers to besides those two. And hopefully there'll be some more soon. I'm doing research because I know what to look for because I've dealt with it. So I'm able to come out with the results so far in the research I'm doing is the biggest thing is feeling good about yourself when you exercise. Mm-hmm. And if you feel good about yourself, life is good.
Yes, it is.
It is, right? And it's not just good for you, but it's good for the people around you. It makes their life happier, easier, and they'll look in the mirror and see a smile just like you will. And if you look in the mirror in the morning and you see a smile, the rest of your day is going to happen without not smiling, right? You covered that, but you'll probably smile again. I do it in the morning, and I smile at myself, and I look like, oh, and I smile, and then I laugh at myself because I feel kind of silly doing it, but I'm like, ha, got it in, got my smile. And I know I'm going to smile a lot the rest of the day because it's the kind of guy I am. But I love doing it. I love exercise. I love showing people what they think they can't do is really an incorrect thought because you can do a lot. Just not practicing will change that. And if you don't walk or you don't exercise for a long time and you try to do it, you're going to have a tough time. You got to give yourself a chance, and you have to slowly work your way into it. I mean, the recommendations for exercise for people with MS is very similar to the recommendations for MS for non-MS patients, and the results are similar. The problem is what we do is we pick out what we can't do and we think about it. We think about it longer than any exercise program will last. And then we say, we didn't exercise today, we'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow we think more and more and more about why you didn't exercise yesterday, why you don't exercise today, and why you might not need to exercise or whatever it is. But all that thought is really, really, really wearing. I mean, it's tiring to think about something that you're going to fail miserably by not doing because I've heard it every time. I'm not picking on anybody, and somebody in here knows that they told me I tried. When once I hear I tried, that to me means I'm making an excuse. And that excuse is good. It's only good for you. You're the one that's going to get the results from exercise. You are going to feel better when you do it. At the beginning, you're going to feel a little bit sore. That's normal because the partner that you're exercising with, if you have someone else, they're going to feel sore too because they haven't done it in a while. It's not because they have MS, and you're not giving them MS. They're sore too. So it takes time, and that's your body telling you, as DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, that says back off a little bit, let it recover a little. But the best thing for that is movement. Move, move, move. If you can move, move. If you can't move your right arm and you can move your left arm, move your left arm. Your right arm is not having problems with it. If you think about these problems, you're neglecting your good arm. And then you'll have two bad arms. Who wants two bad arms? Not me, right? I got two bad shoulders, but I do everything I can with them. They work. They move. When I lose range of motion, then we'll go to the hammer and the saw, but not yet. Some of the other things that exercise does for people, it brings people together. And if you have exercise partners or groups of people that you meet, that's something that you should do, and you're going to hold yourself accountable, and if you don't do it, they're going to get mad at you. And you want to be a part of the group, right? And they're your friends, so they're okay if you do it a little bit differently. But you might get better than them. Who knows? I passed a lot of people from when I was not able to walk to when I was able to. In fact, I was dunking a basketball a year and a half after my doctor told me I'd probably never walk again. And I believed I'd do that. And the time I did do it, it was the first time I'd ever, even prior to doing that, dunked a ball two hands. And I was on a fast break, and it's the weirdest feeling when you get up there and you're looking down at the rim. That's what it feels like. Just so you throw the ball in there. And then you hang on the rim and make all kinds of noise and think you're cool. How many people in here don't exercise because they just don't know what to do? Does anybody know what the best exercise is for people with MS?
Walk.
Okay, what if the person can't walk? Everybody in here is 1 out of 1. But the answer to that question is whatever you'll do. Because the first exercise that you should do, you got to do it to get to the second one. But if you don't do that first exercise, you'll never, that's it, you don't exercise. You have to start, and starting should be with a warm-up. Warming up is important because it gets your body loosened up, it gets your core temperature up in a good way, not in a bad way, and you're able to move better when you're loose, right? You don't want to be this like real stiff person. You can have passive warm-ups where you warm your body up with like a towel that's warm, or a shower even. I mean, where I live in South Florida, you guys live in this cold California climate. We're in the sunny, hot South Florida. I don't know how you guys live in this cold, but well, I left, it was 90 degrees. I got here and I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have brought another shirt.
Our
but,
summers are triple digits.
oh, whatever. I've never been here in the summer. I don't believe it. I've been in Vegas in the summer. It's hot, especially when you're losing money. And no, I don't gamble, but I watch other people lose money, and I'm like, God, that's crazy. I get so happy that it's not me, you know. But everyone's got their thing. If I did gamble, though, I always say I'll just take the same amount with me out that I would have spent if I was out having a good time, and lose it. And then I come back and say, gosh, it was horrible. I lost my money. That's why I don't do it. I work hard for my money, like the song. So I like to find things around my house that are great to exercise with, that I do stuff with my clients, because when I go to people's homes, and I'm going to ask for some volunteers to come up here. How many of you guys are willing to help and do something, volunteer? Okay, well, you're going to be the first one, but not yet. But you're all about it, so don't worry, I'm not going to forget about you. You're coming up soon. These are furniture movers. Anybody seen these before? Furniture movers? I got a new pack. This is going to be great because they're new. They're so much better when they're new. I'm just kidding. They're the same when they're old. But with these, you can do stuff that you can't, like you can slide your foot around on it. I was just practicing the other day, like sliding your foot forward. I've never used them with two at one time, but it's like Michael Jackson, you know? No, I'm just kidding. That's dangerous. But what I do like to do with these, I take these on the plane with me wherever I go and speak, because if I'm in a window seat and I'm tightened up and I don't feel like getting the guy next to me or the girl next to me to get up and move or wake them up, like who wants to be woken up when they're in an airplane? And you do that to someone and you're in an airplane, you don't know what they're going to think. So I'm sitting there and I'll sit in my seat and I'll do this to keep my legs a little bit loose, a little bit of hip rotation, that type of stuff. And if you can't do it completely because you don't have the movement as well in your leg, help with your hand. Now you're working out your arms a little bit, getting your arms loosened up. And you might be able to do this. This doesn't take your hip flexors to work to push forward and back. It's your knee flexors. This isn't a natural movement, forward and back like that, because the only time you'd really do this motion right here is in a gym or under a seat in an airplane. I don't know. You use multiple joints together to get movement. Starting with bicep curls, you know what bicep curls are good for? For the girls to see my biceps, that's it. You know? Biceps work in conjunction with other muscle groups to make complex movement. But when do you ever just use your bicep besides the gym? Seriously. Can you think of anything where it's just like an isolated movement of the bicep besides bodybuilding? What? Doing what with the bridge? If you reach into the bridge, you're using your delts to stabilize your arm. You're doing this, and when you pull it towards you, it's a compound motion to take something out. Going forward, that's a compound motion. You're using your elbow joint and your shoulder joint. So again, when you're at the bar, unless you're throwing the drink over your shoulder, you know, you're gonna grab the drink. I practice the movements all the time. I drink too. No, it's a shoulder. It's the same thing. It's more delts because you grab it, you bring it towards you, and then you lift. That's what it is. Otherwise, you're going to be dumping it over your shoulder. You know. So don't do that at the bar later. Give me the drink and let someone else. But no, that's the place for single joint movements is when you cannot do a multi-joint movement, which can happen, and then you want to work single joints. Sometimes coordination doesn't allow for it. What I like to do is use bands and balls and all these different things. Get your body used to movement that it may have forgot. And one thing that exercise can do also is help with neuroplasticity. It's almost like shifting into neuroplasticity, and that's your body's ability, your brain and nerves to change over the time of your life. And that's when things change. When things change, we change with them, right? We don't just stay there and everything changes. We go with it, and our brains do that. So something like exercise and movement, movement patterns change. And if your movement patterns change and your brain's able to stick with the change and still move in the same direction, it may move with different muscle groups. I'm not one to isolate muscles and say, let's work on this muscle. I'm all about the movement. I'll tell the person and the person's doctor that this is what's going on. They don't really have the ability to hip flex, flex your hip. But some people, what happens with them is they need to get their leg up, so without thinking about this, their brain has already put together a plan. It's gone to the drawing board and it said, okay, we're going to lift. This isn't working, that's not working. What can we do to get that leg to lift? And you'll see your body adapts, and all of a sudden you'll externally rotate your hip a little bit, and now you lift your leg up with your foot externally rotated, and you're using your adductors, the muscles that would do this, bringing your legs together to lift your leg. Now, is that going to be as smooth as using your hip flexors? And no, it's not, but it's getting the job done. So that's kind of like if I gave you a little bit to do and you did it versus you doing absolutely nothing. It's 100% more, right? So that's what I want you to think about when you get into an exercise program or you do something such as go for a walk. And I'm going to use a client as an example in what I had him doing the other day. And I have to do this to people because if I tell them exactly, I tell them afterwards, not before. But if I tell them why I do certain things, they'll be like, but I don't want to do that because of that. And this, no, we follow the instructions when we're together and things work out, and it's fun. But if I had somebody doing something like this, they're doing a stand, okay, and let's say they're there and they're here, and then after 5 reps, they get stuck here and they come back up. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll say, okay, right now, our goal is 15. 15 is my magic number. If you can do it really well 15 times, then I add a load to it, and then we work back up to 15. So say number 8 happens. This is what happens when your nerves in your brain and go to the end of your kinetic chain and come back up, and it doesn't send the proper signal to all the muscles and whatever, and it just doesn't complete the motion. So what I'll say is, okay, and this is twofold. 2 things are happening. I'll say, I want you to sit down and close your eyes. And I want you to see yourself stand the same way you did the first 6. Watch it happen in your head, and then I'll say, you got it? You got it. Now I want you to stand up. And when you do, keep going. Wow, it's perfect again. And now they're doing their 7 ones, and they get to 15. Okay, why did that help? There's 2 reasons. One reason is they saw themselves do it in their head. They may have gotten fatigued, and the way they did it wasn't the same as number 1 and number 7 weren't the same way because they were tired. They have neurological fatigue, so the nerves aren't getting the message to the muscle properly, and there's failure. That's another reason. So what I'm doing is I'm giving them a 20, 30-second rest while they're thinking about doing it correctly. Now they've practiced in their mind. They get up, they do it. It was from the rest and the thought process. Both of them go hand in hand. Which one helps more? Who cares? It works. You can get through a rep or an exercise of 15, and I'd rather do it with heavier weight. If it's like a shoulder press or if it's a squat or whatever it is, and I really feel strong about doing exercise on a different plane than just up and down. I want to go forward and back and side to side because that's how we live. And the results that you get in the gym and the results that you get from all the stuff that I'm going to start showing you soon. Don't worry, he's yawning, but I'm going to get him up here. He's going to be tired. But it's important to do the stuff that you like. And I'm going to show you things that you like. And you can come on up now. You're stuck. Come on up. Hey, whoop. Now you're going to get embarrassed because I'm talking to you and you're not hearing me. Come on up. Come on. Come on. We're going to do. Are you an MS patient?
Yes.
Okay, come on up. Because the next person that I get to come up, I don't want to have them to have MS. That could be anybody in here because I don't want any of you to really have MS. If I could change that, I would. Okay.
She's my mom.
Okay. You got a good mom because she's here with you. My mom almost came, but I'm coming from Florida, and I was like, please, come on, you take a rest. Don't come with me. Okay, so by being up here, if you're okay with being filmed, you just have to tell the camera that you're okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
You're good with what?
With being filmed.
Okay, we're in. Okay, now we can have some fun. So how long have you had MS?
I've had MS for about 3 years.
Yeah, probably longer than that, but that's how long you knew you had it, right? Have a seat.
I'm scared.
Why are you scared? Yeah, everybody's scared. I'm not gonna. Well, he's gonna be the only one I'm gonna do this to. Don't worry. I'm just kidding. Don't worry. Okay. All right. What I want you to do is what I did before. Do you see what I was doing? Just sliding that around. Just forward and back. Is that easy?
Yeah.
Okay. For any of you who don't do anything other than sit behind a desk or sit around that can do this, again, 100% more than what you would have been doing. But he can do a lot more than that. All of you can. And what you're doing is, like I was talking about, how you're talking yourselves out of it or talking yourselves, switch legs so you don't get too tired with that leg. All that time that you put into thinking about why you don't exercise and all that stuff, something like this, if you just did that, you'd say, my gosh, this is so easy. I can do more than that, right? Isn't that easy? You can do more than that, right? Okay, then give me that back. Now stand up.
Aww.
Can you do squats?
Yeah.
Okay, sit back down then. Okay, sit down.
Wait, no.
Huh? Have a seat.
Squats are easy.
Yeah, well, stand up. How many people can get out of a chair and sit into a chair? If you can, you've done squats. You can do squats. And if you can't go all the way to the chair, going this to this height and doing a modified squat to here, that's a way to start. Did you get hurt?
No.
Okay, good. See, he's fine. He just doesn't want to do more than that, right? You don't want to do more than squats. You raised your hand first. You're the champ. You're going to be doing stuff. All right. Did you see how I picked that up just now? You've been taught your whole life to do what when you pick something up? Bend it to your knees. Why?
Easier.
What if you had a strong back? Why?
Because you're told. We were told that.
Yeah, but we were told that by people that were trying to be overly cautious because nobody wants anybody to get hurt. Doctors used to tell us not to exercise when we had MS because they didn't want us to have pseudo-exacerbations, which they didn't know that's what it was. But if you learn to, pseudo-exacerbation is just having a 24-hour or less symptom, that you think is an exacerbation until it goes away. But if you were to use if you were to use the strongest, most powerful muscle in your body as much as you sat on it, your backs would be a lot better. So, but by sitting on that strong muscle all day, it's not getting it any, that's your butt. Your butt, yeah. Butt's the most powerful, your gluteus maximus. They didn't name it that for any other reason. So when I pick something up, it's like a lunge. I'll do a lunge or a reach to pick something up. So rather than doing this, and I'm going to explain this, if I were to do this, like a bend at the knees and come up, okay, that's great. If it was really heavy, this is a really stupid joint. It's a third-class lever. It doesn't work efficiently, and I'm going to end up blowing my knee out. So it doesn't matter how good or bad my back is if my knee doesn't work because I don't get to use my back because my foot's not going to be on the ground. So if you do something slow to start, you can even do it in a chair, but if you're sitting down, just something like a simple reach, pretend there's a cone right there. I'm working my lower back, so my lower back's getting strong. I'm also working my glutes a little bit because I'm doing hip extension. And they're getting a stretch while I'm doing it. So that's standing up. How much did I bend my knees? My back is pretty safe because it's not further forward than my toes, so it's not hanging on ligaments. And I do this a lot. So if I didn't do it a lot, do you do what I just did a lot?
Huh?
Did you grab stuff off the ground the way I did? Okay, what I want you to do is take a step back and face this way. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here. Now what I want you to do is move forward a little bit. So what I want you to do is, in this motion, do that and grab the ball and up. Was that difficult?
No.
Did your knees bend a lot?
Yeah.
Not a lot. No, you got to about here. This bent. A lot of people are afraid to bend their hips and extend, hip extension. They use their knees. So, but you don't want to lean too far forward. So you can bend your knees a little bit, stick your butt out, and reach. So something like that would become easy if you keep doing it. And that's how your brain, you can step down. I'm going to get somebody else and torment them next. But thank you very much. Come on, give them a round of applause. So to me, it's a simple movement. Both of those are simple movements, right? You can pick up the form of a squat or a deadlift. The best person to get that from is, who do you think? Don't say me. No. It's like a 2 or 3-year-old. They haven't learned how to do it wrong yet. So if a 2 or 3-year-old picks something up off the ground, if it's too heavy, they're doing a deadlift. If it's not too heavy, they're doing a squat. So how many of you have had a 2 or 3-year-old? And you see how they pick things up. They'll look at it, they'll go down, and pick it up if it's light, right? So that's a pretty good looking squat. If they get to here and it's too heavy, you'll see this shift. Romanian deadlift. They're ready for the Olympics. Those are natural biomechanics. Some unnatural biomechanics, I'm going to have somebody else come up here. Actually, I want somebody who doesn't have MS coming up here. Now, did you get healed? Hey, if that's the case, we need you up here, and I need to be sitting down.
Oh, again?
No, not again. Why'd you raise your hand? Come on, I want somebody else. This was fun. I'm not going to make, come on up. You don't have MS? Okay, then come on up. Okay, you come around this way. Take the stairs. It's either the stairs or the window, you know. Okay, if you're, remember, are you okay with being on?
Being filmed.
Okay. So, you want to know what it's like to have MS?
Sure.
Okay, ask all these people. No, I'm just kidding. What I want you to do is step up a little bit. So, what I want you to do is, hey, what happens with people with MS is we lose what's called proprioception. That's the ability to know where we are in space. Because we don't have full neurological function, and it uses all senses to detect how you're standing, if you're stabilized or not. We don't know this because we just move, right? But when you have MS, it's not so simple. So what I want you to do is, I want you to put your feet together. Touch them like this. You can put your hands like this, anywhere you want, relax, and head up, and just stand there. Do you feel stable?
Kind of.
Do you feel as stable as you did when your feet were apart?
No, not as.
Okay. So this is uncovering, like everyone says, my balance is bad. Stability is bad. If you work on stability, then you can work on balance. Balance is good for the doctor's appointment, right, when they test people. But we don't hop around on one leg. So what I want you to do is I'm going to remove a sense from you. So look forward. Now close your eyes. You feel that?
Wow.
Okay. You guys who have MS, can you relate to that?
Yes.
Okay. How's your balance? You can open your eyes. How's your balance? Can you
now.
stand on one leg? No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, is that what's weighing you down? What's going on here? Wait. California people.
Right.
Okay, one leg. Pretty easy, right? You got it. Keep it up. Keep it up. Do it. You getting you cramping in the hamstring?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, well that's good because I got a few minutes left. I'm gonna talk about stretching and what that can help with. But so on the third try, you did like two, somewhat good, and then the third one you did because you practiced, right? You're neurologically adapted to being in that position.
Right.
Okay, now close your eyes. A little bit more difficult. Okay, welcome to MS. That's MS 101. Okay, that's what happens. I've had elite athletes do that, and what ends up happening is they'll say, stand on one leg, and they'll do this. I'll tell them to put their head back, and when they put their head back, they're all over the place. I'm like, okay, now you have MS too, and you're an elite athlete. But that's what it feels like. That's all I wanted you up here for, but thanks a lot. Good job. And now everybody else, you can tell your spouses and whatever, stand on one leg, close your eyes, tilt your head back, and you better have something ready to catch them. Don't do that at home. Okay, I need another volunteer. Do you have MS? Are you an MS patient?
I am.
All right.
I need to come up there?
Yeah.
Can I do it
Take
down
the
here?
steps. Take the steps. I'll help you up.
There's no rail.
No, but you here. No,
show you. I got
use my arm as a rail.
I got it. Let me show you. I got it.
If you fell, then we'd say this is the right way to fall.
I'm gonna blame you.
Right? Okay. Are you okay with being video recorded?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's
Just tell it to the hem.
Just give him a good side.
All right. Okay. What do you feel what ability do you feel that you have had the majority of your life that you're lacking most right now because of MS?
Because of the MS,
Yeah.
my right side,
Yeah.
and bending forward and not tumbling forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you bend forward, I'll give you here's a way that you can bend forward. You got the cane, right?
Right.
Are you okay with that for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. So you get the cane. Now rather than bending forward with your feet together, now you're balance. You're forward and back. There's nothing that's stopping you from going forward and back other than your feet there. Isn't this a little bit better of a stance for that?
Right.
So now with the cane here and this here, bam, simple, right?
Yes.
Okay, solve that problem for you.
Yes.
So that becomes an exercise. Now you're doing reaches. Put a cone, put something there. You can even do something, pick it up, put it here, put it down.
Okay.
Pick it up, put it there, put it down. You can have the cane back. Then you know what you're doing? You're actually doing a rotational exercise.
Got you.
Because you're here and you're over here using rotational muscles. Yeah, so that's something that you can take home with you from the gym. And that's something that if you do in the gym often enough, then the results are shown outside the gym. Do you get it? When you exercise, the things that we're talking about here should be noticeable when you're home, when you're doing other things, when you're in the gym, because you can practice being a great person in the gym and then you become a great person in the gym. But at home, that's where you want it to work, right? When you're at work, when you're out and about, you don't want to fall. So how often do you practice to step into the side?
I do that all the time.
All right. And so you're doing like, hey, don't do the stairs over there.
I'm not gonna
If you fall off, you're fired. If you land, you're trespassing. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but lateral stepping is if you stumble and you go to the side, what happens is your hips and your glutes might not be strong enough to support you. So what happens, just like sports, how many people in here watch sports? Okay, so you ever see somebody get beat to the baseline in basketball or get beat past the sideline in football? If you step laterally, you'll beat that. But what happens if you step laterally and you're not strong enough and you have to go here and your glutes aren't strong enough, then what's going to do is your knee's going to keep going. Once your knee passes your toe, one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to have to take another step, person beats you or whatever happens,
right,
or you go down.
Right.
So that's why lateral stepping and using your glutes the right way is important, not just because your knees are dumb, because knees are dumb.
Right.
Knees only go, you can get down, I know
Okay.
you're in a rush. But knees only do two things, right? They flex and they extend. When they do anything else, let's have a round of applause. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
If your knees do anything other than flexion and extension, then it's usually done on the operating table. Right? That's why get your glutes strong. If your glutes are strong, then you start to work with your glutes and your knees. So this, you can do a reach without bending your knees much, but not putting your back in jeopardy. It doesn't go from A to Z. You do it step by step. So you might take a short, something like that. If you can do it, same thing as if you're in a chair. You can reach to the side, and eventually it can be here. And something like that can be all the way down. Then you can even do it with knee flexion, and you have the hips and glutes and knees that all work together. It's like a big party, right? Then we walk smoothly. But unsteady movements are a result of a lot of things. Something going wrong up here, and something not happening everywhere else, and that's just not practicing. So when you're doing things and when you wake up in the morning and you're planning your workouts for the day, put a lot more time into the workout than you do thinking about why you shouldn't work out. It goes a long way. I mean, I guarantee you, if I got the amount of time that everybody in here thinks about going to the gym versus the amount of time people go to the gym, you guys are wasting a lot of time and energy thinking about something that isn't going to happen unless you go ahead and do it. That's why having a partner is great. If you have a partner, it's really a good idea because you're accountable and all that stuff. I need another volunteer. You? Come on down. You ever been on The Price is Right? I haven't. Nobody gets better by watching other people get better. Do you got that? So if you sit there and you watch other people get better and do stuff, you can be their cheerleader, but you're not going to get the results they get by doing it. Now do that. That was phenomenal. Hey, do you agree? Are you okay with being recorded?
Sure.
Okay. Now I want you to do that 10 more times, and that's your workout for the week. No, I'm kidding.
I have had MS for 48 years. I was diagnosed June 1970.
So you're one of the champions that had to deal with it without meds and without all the stuff for all the years, and you're a pioneer. We'll call you a pioneer. Have a seat. So your right side's more affected or your left?
Left.
Okay. Can you lift your knee up on your left side?
Not the left.
I love what you just did, because that's what I was going to tell you to do. So I want you to march, even if you have to use your hands. Go ahead, just do that. Push that forward and back. And now when you bring it back, just lift your leg and pull. Pull with your, there you go. Now push it forward. That's a lot more than you were doing with your leg before, right? Yeah. So since you're doing that, I'm going to let you take that home with you today. Okay. All right?
I was thinking to go and buy one.
Nah, well, you don't have to do that now. Now you can, or unless you want to sell this one, I'll sign it. It'll reduce the value of it, but. Okay, so touch my hand with your right hand. Now with your left hand. Okay. I just did a full neurological exam on him. It's funny because some of the people that I work with, the exercises that I'm doing with them are strengthening their arms and functionally they're moving better. Unfortunately, it's kind of tricking the neurological exam, so I have to send a letter to the doctor or something saying that they're doing stuff that's similar to that. So I have them now when they say touch your finger, touch the nose. I tell the doctor, you got to move your finger like this. So if you think you can't exercise with traditional stuff, I always like to have something that anybody can exercise with, even if it's by. If you can't move your arms or your legs and I hit this to the side, I just say, watch it go by. And it'd have to go far enough so it's out of their field of vision. They have to turn their head, so they're using their head. But I want you to catch this. Okay, and here. Who in here does, nice try. Who in here does core exercises? Catch it? Who in here can't get out of a chair often and wants to know what a good core exercise is? You guys don't want to know?
Well, I'd like to.
Catch it. See what he's doing? If his core was weak, if his core was really weak, he'd be laying on the side on the floor over there. So doing something as simple as this.
Exercise for 2 hours, at least 4 days a week.
If you would have told me that before, I would have let you. I would have let you come up here and show off earlier.
At least 4 days,
if not 8.
7 days.
I exercise 8 days a week. I don't know. I think it has more to do with my math than how often I exercise. Hey, take this. Did that surprise you that it was that heavy? Okay, so what I want you to do is, I'm going to show you guys how I warm people up. Then I'm going to talk about cool down stretching, and then you're going to have some question and answers. But can you do this with that? Bring it up here. And now down to here. No, 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 it's not golf, no golf. Here and here. So if you're standing and doing it, it would look like this. Pick it, do the same thing again. Up to the right, high right, low left. This is a 3-pound ball, and that's a 4-pound sandbag. Here, and they're both very soft, right? That's soft. So this, what I'm doing is I'm warming up my core, my body in a diagonal motion, and then I would do it the other way. Then up and down like this. See if you can do up and down like this. Here. So I'm working on all planes of motion because if I'm going to work out, it's going to be multi-planar workout. That's how we live life. So why walk on a treadmill if you're going to be moving in all different directions? So you want to warm up the body in a fashion that your whole body is warmed up in the direction that you're going to be using it. Then the last one is you're just going to go from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock with it, side to side. But if you're standing and you pivot, you notice all the things I've done, my shoulders and my hips are square. So 10 o'clock and 2, don't go to 3 and 9. I can because my back's not rotating. It's not grinding, so I'm not going out of my range of motion. My core is stopping me here and here, but the ball always remains in front of my sternum, so it's okay. So now that you're warmed up, this is an exercise band. So another thing about core. You guys want to know about core? Yes. Everything I've done has involved core. If your back's not supported, no one's had their back supported when they've been up here, and you're doing stuff in a chair, you're working your core. You're going to fall out of the chair just by sitting there. You're working your core. But let's say you got a little bit of a bad back, or you have problems with rotation. Take this with both hands. Hold it straight in front of you like this. Okay, I'm just going to hold this right like this. I mean, this isn't that light. Can you feel your core? Feel it here and here? So he's working rotational muscles absent rotation. If I did it from the other side, it'd be the same thing. Or he could move. But he's resisting by, he's resisting. I'm resisting, so is he. So that's it. Yeah, so that's a core exercise. You guys want to know what core exercise is like? It's all, you know. Now I want you to stand up. Okay. Now sit down. I'm going to have you do one more thing. I'm getting in trouble, but it's going to be well worth it. Okay, what I want you to do now is I want you to put your hands in front of you. I want you to imagine yourself do this. I want you to lean forward, get your butt off the, well, imagine it, don't do it. Get your butt off the seat, and when your butt's off the seat, then I want you to extend your body up. And don't worry about falling forward, and imagine the chair has been pulled away, or else you'll sit right back down. So what I want you to do is...
You don't want me to stand up?
This is what I want you to do. Here, till you get this up, and then come up without using your hands. Hands for, now I want you to lean, make it a momentum. Lean all the way forward.
Sure.
Look at that. Okay, so what I want you guys to do, thank you so much. That wasn't a big enough round of applause. Where's your cane? Here. So I'm going to finish by saying, whatever your next move is, make sure it's your best move. Okay, thank you guys, and now it's time for questions and answers.
Hi, Jeff. It's
Hello.
me again.
That's all right.
So I have chronic back problems, like spasms in the middle of my back that it literally, when it gets fatigue, I am just done. I have to sit down. I can't do anything else. I have to sit. Is there any way of doing exercises to improve that eventually? Or it just feels so endless, you know, and it really, because it's my core, I have literally no core. And
You have core. I see. I can tell you have core.
Well,
You just have to figure out what you got and work with it, not
Okay.
what you don't have and
Okay.
not do it. But So what's your biggest concern?
Well, I mean, I feel like.
Is it the
feel like
spasticity that you're having problems with, or you're not sure?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, I'm going to
like,
give you a generic response, and I'll try to go a little bit more into it. But
I
the
feel
generic
like-
response is you need to talk with your doctor, and you need to tell him exactly what you're telling me, and you need to explain it to him, and you guys need to troubleshoot and figure out why your back is hurting, and if it's spasticity, or if you've had an injury at some time, or what you can do to increase your strength.
Right.
You may have an imbalance with your anterior posterior muscles, or lateral musculature, which is also an issue that can cause back pain.
Okay.
But if you figure out what's causing it, then the prevention becomes more important, in the long run.
Right.
And there could be, it could be so many different things. As far as strengthening your core, do whatever you can that doesn't hurt.
Okay.
And if it starts to hurt, then that means that you've learned what your limit was. And if you do the same amount the next day, your limit might be a little bit more, and then a little bit more, but that's how you raise the bar.
She said thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have a question?
I have balance issues. What can I do to improve my balance?
Okay. There's a lot that goes into balance. Balance can be an issue that's a lesion causing that could be it. It may be that and something else. But like I said, the most important thing to be able to do before you even consider working on balance is being stable. And if you can stand like this, if you're talking about standing, great. That's being stable. And then eventually work to here. And then if you want to get to balance, get it closer together. This is over a long period of time. And doing many different movements too. Doing a row with a rope with a resistance band, starting out here, going to one leg, and eventually to here. But you have to use your body as a lever system and mechanical advantages, and this here is a stable stance, wide base of support. Right. Or you can go a little bit closer and a little bit closer, and then some external stimulus, someone throwing something or some kind of movement with it, like what I was doing with the ball and the bag. Yeah, catching stuff or moving with it. Doing the warm-up that I was doing something like this. Even if it's just like that, you're shifting weight side to side. You don't have to do it that fast. Even if it's just here and you're mechanically going to here, and then you're stable, and then over to here, or back and forth, side to side. Anything that gives you trouble, work on it a little bit at a time until you succeed. But talking about it isn't enough. So, and me doing it's not going to help you. All right, but you're welcome. I mean, you know that there's something going on, so start to work on it, and it could help. It's not going to hurt, and if it does, stop.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Back here, up there.
Okay, up there, back there. Oh my God.
Make him run.
Hi. So what is your thoughts in having MS and doing like Zumba, aerobics, Pilates?
I think that's a lot to do at once.
Yeah. I mean, I love the dancing portion. Like, that's what I'm into. But I can tell that it has definitely limited me. Like, at a certain point when I do it a lot, like if a class is an hour long, at some point my knees give out. My hip.
Wait. At some point, do you know when that is usually? Is it usually around the same amount of time into it?
Yeah.
Okay, so leading up to that time, you back off a little bit. You might be overdoing it, or that might just be your limit right there, and that might be the time to stop, and don't worry about the rest of the class. I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell everybody about gyms. Don't worry about stopping a class and being that person, because no one else cares about anything but themselves when they're exercising. And that's what they should be doing. But this leads me to cool down. Cool down is so important. Cool down is the most important part about an exercise routine when you're working out, because when you're doing something like Zumba or you're doing something aerobic, you get that pump in your legs. You ever feel that pump? You guys know what the pump is? When you walk a lot and you're really walking and you feel like your legs get pumped up? Well, that's blood that's, you're shunting blood up and down to wherever it's needed. So that pump, what happens when you stop abruptly, is your heart rate and blood pressure drop, and now you feel dizzy, right? Have you ever stopped on a treadmill? Just stop and you feel a little bit woozy? That's because you're not getting enough blood to the brain because it can't get through that pump. So you have to slowly cool down, so that way your heart rate and your blood pressures are reducing at the same time that your legs are not as pumped and your blood's allowed to get returned through your veins to your heart and into your brain, and you don't have that dizziness. But with your question about the Zumba and all those things, you do what you can and you find your limits. There's no specific one. You have to, assess what you're able to do, what's going to work best for you, what's going to be most helpful, and what you're most willing to do. And stop when you hit your limit. Yeah, because all these classes, they're modified and adaptive. They should be, and if not, then find a different one. We had another question.
We have time for one last question.
He had a question over here.
I know.
So this is a little bit of a structural healthcare question. Obviously, our healthcare system right now pays for too much of people being sick and not enough for people being well, but more and more healthcare companies and health insurance companies are paying for gyms. Yeah. But one of the kind of hidden secrets of the fitness industry right now is the wide variance in expertise and education that is in the people. Certain national chains that want to keep their profit margins up may not have people with the same level of experiences as other gyms. Are there resources that you know of for patients who want to go to a gym that has personal trainers with a degree in exercise physiology, or with people who have interest in taking care of people with medical conditions, to help do that, like experts like yourself, and actually find those people?
Yeah, unfortunately in the country, nationwide, there's not licensure in exercise physiology and personal training. But the two certifications that I would look for that go with degrees are the American College of Sports Medicine and the National Strength and Conditioning Association, which both have certifications that you have to have the degrees to have. And if you talk to the gyms and they tell you that their trainers are certified and just leave it at that, go into it and ask them, what certifications do you require your trainers to have? And if they tell you that we just make sure that they're certified, you make sure that you don't go there. Because that certification could have been something that they were told by their neighbor, and their neighbor took the test online, that was an hour, and or their cat or their dog or anything. It doesn't matter. It's an bad scenario, and the whole industry is unregulated. So you putting someone in someone's care, life in their care, they're carrying their life, and you don't want them to die. No one's like, that's something that's horrible in the industry. And it's a great question. Gyms should have high standards of who's taking care of people, because one person dies and the gym is done. The owner's done. Everything is, and it really a bad part of this industry. So I don't know if that answer your question.
Yeah, I think that was great. I think it's important for people to know who they're working with, and there's really great experts with that degree that do a lot of good. So it's important for people to find them. So
yeah, and when you do find someone that has a degree and has the certifications, make sure that their continuing education is in line with the type of work that they're doing, and that if they're doing specialized training, that they've got a good background in that specialized training. And I guarantee you that if you have MS and you want to ask somebody, you know a lot more about MS than the trainers out there. And some doctors too. That's how the doctors learn, is from your knowledge and what you tell them. So that's why this whole care, this whole allied health care team, and everyone has to work together. And they all work together to find out what you're saying to them, and it goes back, and everybody wants you to be the best you can be. So you pick the best people on your team, like a personal trainer, an exercise physiologist, physical therapist, and all the physical types of medicine that's out there. Make sure that you're in good hands.
Well, let's thank Jeff for being here.
Thank you.
And not only Jeff, but let's also thank Dr. Robers again for coming out for his first time doing this with us. And I hope that we can count on you again in the future. Okay? Awesome. Of course, I want to thank all of you. And something that I forgot to actually mention, we did have a pharmaceutical company support this event tonight, and I hope that everybody appreciates Segal, okay, for providing us the funding to do this. So I hope that you could all thank them as well. Thank you.